Now, this latest tariff threat is also a serious concern in Alberta. Well, energy is our largest export to the United States. Alberta beef and dairy producers are also potentially at risk.
The global beef trade is shifting, and the United States is losing ground fast. For more than a decade, American ranchers steadily built their presence in China, the world's fastest-growing protein market. But in early 2025, that door began to shut. As trade uncertainty rattles international markets, China is expected to buy more beef from Australia instead. While beef and dairy are related industries, they have key differences. Still, the threat of a 35% tariff on Canadian exports is unsettling for many Alberta farmers. Meanwhile, the looming 25% U.S. tariff on Korean goods, set to begin August 1st, is intensifying pressure globally. In a recent briefing, Trade Minister Yanu signaled that strategic decisions may soon be necessary. Then came the biggest blow. China abruptly halted over 150,000 tons of U.S. beef imports. Officially, the reason was safety standards. Unofficially, it was retaliation. The move followed the U.S. announcement of a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. The fallout hit quickly, rippling across feedlots, cold storage, and rail yards from Texas to Nebraska. Over $500 million in U.S. beef exports were canceled or rerouted. Contracts collapsed. Ranchers were left with oversupply and falling prices. We know YouTube doesn't always favor content like this, but we believe people deserve to hear the truth. If you agree, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us beat the algorithm and keep going. Your support means a lot. According to trade analysts, Chinese inspections of American beef intensified at ports almost immediately after the tariff announcement. While officials cited technical concerns, policy experts saw a clear pattern. Agricultural trade is being used as leverage in a broader economic conflict. By 2024, the U.S. had become one of China's top beef suppliers, exporting over $1.2 billion in product. Losing that market overnight hit states like Kansas, Nebraska, and Texas especially hard, places where beef isn't just an industry, it's a way of life. One Nebraska rancher summed it up. "We're sitting on inventory with nowhere to send it. Months of planning, gone in a week." And while U.S. producers scrambled, Russia stepped in. In just the first quarter of 2025, Russian beef exports to China surged by more than 300%. Years of quiet diplomacy paid off. In 2023, China and Russia signed agreements streamlining food safety certifications and logistics. New rail corridors built under the Belt and Road Initiative now connect Russian slaughterhouses to Western Chinese cities, cutting shipping times dramatically. Payments are made in yuan or rubles, bypassing the U.S. dollar entirely. Russia is not reacting, it's strategically positioning itself. A $1.1 billion government investment aims to double Russian beef production by 2027. Large-scale farms are under construction. Beijing is backing this expansion with long-term purchasing agreements. Even as concerns linger about Russian food safety standards, the political alignment is clear. China prefers reliable partners over regulatory perfection. Elsewhere, traditional suppliers like Australia and Argentina face their own instability. Australia is still recovering from drought and past trade tensions. Argentina's spiraling inflation makes pricing erratic. China wants consistency. Russia is offering it. In March 2025, China escalated further, imposing new tariffs on over 700 U.S. agricultural products, including pork, dairy, sorghum, and almonds. Duties range from 10% to 15%, affecting over $11 billion in U.S. farm exports. But it didn't stop there. Hundreds of U.S. beef plant registrations quietly expired. No renewals were issued. By April, U.S. access to the Chinese market had effectively ended. Simultaneously, Beijing launched a broad investigation into global beef imports dating back to 2019. If oversupply is found, additional restrictions or quotas could follow, impacting Brazil, Australia, Uruguay, and the U.S. This isn't tit for tat. This is systemic realignment. In 2022, the U.S. held over 12% of China's imported beef market. Today, that number has dropped below 6%, and economists warn it may never recover. Why? Because China is rebuilding its food supply chains based not only on efficiency, but on political alignment. Food is now a tool of soft power, and beef is the currency. Beijing's partnerships with Russia, Kazakhstan, and parts of South America now include long-term supply contracts settled in local currencies. Cold chains are adapting. Logistics routes are shifting. Export licenses are now tied to geopolitical trust, not just product quality. Even U.S. allies are adjusting. Brazil has expanded soybean trade with China, cutting into what was once a dominant American export. In fact, reports show China is buying Brazilian soy at a faster pace than ever. Europe, too, is exploring joint food security agreements with China. American exporters now face a complex web of regulatory, financial, and diplomatic barriers. And it's not just about losing current markets. China is building internal capacity. In 2024 alone, domestic beef production in China rose over 5%. State investment is pouring into Inner Mongolia and Sichuan with a dual goal: reduce dependency on volatile exporters and reward countries aligned with China's broader geopolitical goals. Russia's rise in the global beef trade wasn't accidental. It's being carefully engineered. Seized Western assets like Glav product are now exporting canned goods to China and North Korea. Peas, wheat, and beef, once peripheral, are now central to Russia's new economic strategy. Over 95% of China-Russia trade is now settled in yuan and rubles. The dollar has effectively disappeared from their transactions. For the United States, this shift represents a deeper threat. It's not just a matter of lost revenue, it's lost influence. U.S. exporters can't simply wait for tariffs to be lifted. The global trade infrastructure, rail corridors, cold storage hubs, and local currency systems is being rebuilt without them. To re-enter, America will need to adapt on multiple fronts: new financial systems, renewed diplomatic trust, compliance with evolving safety standards, and potentially strategic realignment. That's a high bar. And this isn't just about beef. Sorghum, wheat, pork, and almonds are now caught in the same storm. With over $21 billion in tariffs on U.S. agriculture alone, American producers face a shrinking global market. Meanwhile, China is locking in long-term contracts across Eurasia, and the recovery window is closing. Trade is no longer transactional, it's strategic. Every new corridor, every yuan-based contract, edges the U.S. further toward the margins. But there's still time to act. The U.S. can re-engage through trade frameworks, invest in repairing diplomatic ties, and forge new alliances in Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America. It can modernize its logistics and payment systems. It can build resilience. Because what's at stake isn't just market share, it's the ability to shape the global food system. The Belt and Road rail lines aren't just steel tracks, they're arteries of influence. From Russia's frozen tundra to inland China, these trains now carry not only goods but political trust. Meanwhile, the U.S. is watching key agreements expire. The Phase 1 trade deal provisions have lapsed. Export plant certifications are no longer valid. Financial settlements are hampered by a reliance on dollar-based systems that many trading partners are starting to avoid. Similar trends are unfolding in Latin America. Brazil and Argentina are in talks to settle trade in yuan. Uruguay's agricultural shipments to China are now paired with financing agreements that exclude the dollar entirely. The implications go far beyond agriculture. Currency independence and bilateral trade corridors are becoming the new foundations of global commerce. The United States, once the world's default trading hub, is now being asked to adapt to a multipolar world. The question is, can it? In the American Midwest, where ranchers watch their cattle age out without export buyers, the answer will shape livelihoods for years to come. At ports from Houston to Long Beach, shipments sit idle, waiting on contracts that may never be renewed. In Washington, lawmakers debate trade terms while other nations finalize long-term deals. This isn't just about policy, it's about pace. The countries that act quickly to lock in partnerships, align currency systems, and streamline logistics will lead the next chapter in global food trade. The United States, with its vast agricultural capacity and tradition of innovation, still has the tools. But tools only matter if they're used. And in today's world, speed counts as much as scale. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Awtone and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest political economic updates.